Welcome. This is the first update on the new page that I've started to kind of clean things up as far as all of my different accounts. So I've started to weather some trucks on a bunch of my old Athearn Blue Box rolling stock. I've got a whole little assembly line here. I've decided I got a good color mixed up, so I'm trying to do as many as I can while I've got the color mixed up. I've got for the weathering, I've got a concoction of a bunch of different paints in here. They're all acrylic. And then what I've used is some actual pigment for oil painting. And I forget the actual name, but it is kind of a red oxide. And it's there. It's actual pigment. It's not chalk. It's actual pigment. So it doesn't have the binding agencies that are mixed in with chalks. So it's extremely rich in color and opacity, which is great. So I've got kind of a brown that I mix in, but I don't know if you can kind of make it out here, but it's kind of a cooler brown, and then that red pigment warms it up and makes it more rust color, which I'm really happy with the color. It doesn't come out that great on the camera, but I feel that it looks pretty good on the actual rolling stock. It's coming out a little bit more red on the video than it does on the actual in real life. So it does look a little bit probably too red for my liking on the video, but trust me, it looks good in real life, at least to my eyes, as I am a novice in weathering, although I've been model making and model railroading for years. Just happened to take 20 or 30 years off. But that's what I've got going on here. And then over here, I've got my first Walthers single track girder bridge kit that I'm making. This is the first kit I've made in over 25 years probably, and it's my first Walthers kit. I believe I might have done one or two buildings in the past. I think actually this guy was one of them, and I don't really remember making it. Like I said, it was quite some time ago. But this is a new bridge that's going to go probably over here on the layout. In this section here, I'm kind of new at this whole custom bridge thing. I'm used to the Atlas ones. You just put the track on and plop it on and you're good to go. So this is quite a bit of a learning curve for me. But I've got the model made. As far as I'm concerned, it looks pretty decent. There's a few gaps on some sections here on the curved plates that I might be able to fill in. And then I've got it's going to be open deck. So I've got that part that's there. I sprayed this last night with just some dull black, or flat black I should say. So that's probably going to get some weathering on the ties before I assemble that and put it all together. And this is going to get a spray today, probably soon, so that way I can paint that as I want. And just to quickly bring you through the layout, as this is, like I said, the first video. It's basically a double track loop with a reversing loop that goes from the outside track to the inside. I've had quite a bit of success backing pretty lengthy trains up through there without any problems. I'm having a bunch of problems on these switches. They're remote and everything is DC at this moment. So the two switches in the back are giving me a real hard time. These first two are pretty decent. Everything is Atlas. The track and switch is code 83, and I've got everything wired up here. But those are giving me a problem, and I just recently acquired two Pico switches, which I have never had before. And on my old childhood layout with my dad, we had all Atlas, and I believe it was all code 100. So I'm new to the 83, and definitely new to the Pico. We never had Pico. And I gotta tell you, they are certainly much higher quality than Atlas, if there's any question as far as that's concerned. I've read a lot of reviews, and people say if you treat everything well, you can get the Atlases to be comparable, and they're slightly cheaper, but for, I don't know, $2 to $4 more, the craftsmanship is just unbelievable. For one, these snap without a machine, and everything looks tight, and it doesn't, even this section of the track, the switching part, I'm not sure technically what that's called, but that is much more rigid, just the rail itself, than in Atlas. The fact that it snaps is great. You pay a little bit more, but with the Atlas you pay slightly less, but then you have to buy an actual machine if you want it to stay in its spot, whether it's a remote or just a snap switch. I guess the snap switches are cheaper. Everything on here is either 22-inch radius or custom line. I don't have any snap switches in here, but I don't know. You probably know a lot about the ins and outs and the pros and cons, but I got to tell you, the quality on these is just superior to Atlas. So I'm thinking that these are going to be primarily in the yard here, which is finally underway, but I'm going to eventually hopefully switch everything out, and I'm really tempted to switch at least those back two turnouts with Pico, just to optimize functionality, as I've run into many derailments back there, and the switches, the remote switches don't work that well. But again, it's a learning curve, and thanks for taking a little preview / update. Like I said, this is the first video on this page. I had another page that I quickly shot down, but I'll just take you kind of on a visual tour of the back of the layout. I've got this mountain, which is a cardboard construction underneath, with woven cardboard on top, and before I add the plaster, I will probably need to shear up some of this, although it's pretty stiff, and that's kind of down the road as I've gotten into the bridges finally, because those have sat for a while, and everything, if you can notice now, is Southern Pacific or Santa Fe, and from New England, or being from New England, I'm gonna switch everything eventually to more of a New England, New York feel, as far as the rolling stock and locomotives. Like I said, everything from my childhood was Santa Fe and Southern Pacific. So everything works nicely together. There's a few odds and ends. There's a Baltimore and Ohio car somewhere, but yeah, everything's going to get switched over to New England eventually. But I want to get the layout up and running as fully functional as I can. The layout here, or the yard back here is still kind of underway as far as a design standpoint, but it's going to be pretty simple to open up a possibility for future expansion onto this section here down the road. But that kind of gets rid of my workbench, so I've got some designing and planning to do as far as the overall layout. But that would be a great addition, but for now I don't want to take off more than I can chew, so I'm going to just stick to finishing the yard, and that's pretty much it for now. So thanks for taking a look at this channel, and I will update regularly, so stay tuned. And thanks to all the YouTubers that I subscribe to. Please subscribe here. But I've gotten a lot of ideas as far as weathering, and done lots of research on the Pico switches from all the people that I have followed already. So take a look at those guys as well, because they are a wealth of information and knowledge. So big shout out to everybody that I subscribe to. Thank you very much, and stay tuned. Thanks.